Welcome in, Sonder family. It is great to see you on a Monday night. We are gathering for our first of four monthly setups, and we are just glad to see you. You've got the former Team Texas in the house. I'm Jennifer Ogilvy, and I'm in the Dallas area. And I was in Central Texas this morning and hopped in the car, and now I'm home. And so some of y'all were at the morning setup with me this morning, and Malika was there. And then now we have the fabulous Katie Gideon, and she's hanging out in the chat with you. Thanks, Lori. You were with me this morning. Yeah, I put a lot of hairspray in. But Katie and I, when we first became facilitators, we were the two gals in Texas. So we just dubbed ourselves Team Texas. And then we know she traveled the world and lived abroad for a couple of years. She is now back. And actually, we're probably just as close to each other now, but she's in Oklahoma versus Texas. But anyway, so glad to see you. Lots of faces or names from this morning. And you're doing two socials in one day and you're going to be set up for the week, but also you're getting your mind wrapped around the fact that August is here, which is so crazy. And I love this graphic that says it's chapter 8 of 12. Like we're getting past the halfway point of our 2026 book. Make sure your chat is set to everyone. If you are new here, that is how we communicate with one another. And so you'll want that chat to say your name to everyone. And I think those reactions are back, and you know how you can break out and respond directly to someone's comment. And so I know that the verdict is out on whether we like that or not. Some of us do, some of us don't. But yeah, everyone is here. We're just glad for that. So yeah. And oh, Eileen says August is her birthday month. Who else? Who else has a birthday this month? Drop that in the chat. We'll sing happy birthday to you, beautiful August folks. We are so glad. A big one. You've got a milestone, Kenyatta. I love that. That's so fun. Manisha is an August baby. Tracy just finished the month with her birthday celebration for July. So I love that. What are you going to do to celebrate that milestone of 50? That's pretty fun. And then, oh, Ellen's saying she's got 60 coming. I'm going to tell y'all when I turned 60, because Silk and Solder wasn't in my life when I turned 50, but I made a list of 60 things I wanted to do during my 60th year. So highly recommend that. Get a notes page and just put some things on there, kind of a 60 bucket list that you can tackle throughout the year. That's a lot of fun. Oh my goodness, lots of y'all have some milestones. Yeah, about 1 week of fun. Nathania, that's so right. Year 50 is about one fun thing every week. And you can give yourself a couple of weeks off to be grumpy if you want. So anyway, August is also National Wellness Month, and it's kind of hitting, serendipitously for me because I have not been taking care of myself. I have anyway, yeah. So Wellness Month, here we go. I want to invite y'all to a Christmas in July event, which will be this week. A few folks had talked about wanting to do this. And we said, if you want to see something, email headquarters. You did, and they listened and they reached out. And it is almost, we're almost out of July, but we're going to do this exclusive. There is a small fee for it. But it's just going to bring, a way to bring some joy. Maybe we'll turn down the air conditioner and pull out our Christmas jammies and just kind of engage in those, the fun things, the things that bring us joy. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I'd love to see you there this week. Katie and I will be back for that one. So that will be on Thursday. And we just want you to make it if you can. Katie dropped that link in the chat, and it's just gonna kind of, we're gonna do some things also just to sort of look forward to the rest of the year and how we can frame that out with a happy, joyful spirit. There are the community guidelines. Is there anyone sitting with their brand new journal and it's your first journal? If so, drop a me in the chat. Um, and we want to point out these community guidelines because when we gather together, we share these guidelines. Oh, welcome, newbies. We're so glad you're here. You have found your accountability group. These are your accountability buddies. This is going to make your journal experience so fruitful because you can carve out these appointments to be intentional with your journal. You meet a wonderful community who loves you no matter what and says, show up. You know, we love you as you are. And it just, you'll get a lot of great ideas for your journal as you embrace your own self-care journey. And you may see something tonight that like, I don't want to try that out this time around, but I may put this in my back pocket for later. So anyway, we are so glad you're here. We hope that we see you take time for these monthly setups every month. And if you come, you'll get to know these names, but also don't forget about the weekly setups. Anytime you need support with your journal journey and the, processes with, your account or any questions you might have, we encourage you to email hello@silkandsonder.com. That is our headquarters address. And yeah, Andrea is right. Start off slow if you're here for the first time. Don't feel like you have to fill everything out. You're going to hear us talk a lot about make this journal work for your life. So filling out, 27 million goals might not be right for you this month. And we're going to look at some ways that you can embrace this in a gentle way, because this is never about setting yourself up to feel like, you're not doing something, right? This is all about doing what we want. Yeah, and we are a little bit longer tonight. And we'll see if I don't overtalk. Y'all know I love to just visit, visit, visit. So, okay, y'all, Katie and I were talking. Neither one of us enjoys the idea of physics. And the first thing when I saw velocity is like, oh, I don't know about this one. And so we're going to be tackling a theme that I think is really going to push me because it's just not, oh, velocity. But I'm kind of putting my momentum hat on. Do y'all remember we did momentum a couple of years ago? I'm kind of thinking of velocity in that frame of mind, like momentum, finding my, flow. But yeah, and see, Meredith is saying chemical engineering degree there. It's right in her alley. So we're gonna count on folks like Meredith to help folks like me deal with this word velocity. But I found this quote and I really liked it, and it's helping me sort of start thinking about velocity in my life. A little reminder for today: the compass came before the clock. Why? Because direction has always been more important than speed. And I love that because we always talk about this is about you and your personal journey. Focus on where you're headed, not how long it's taking. And so I'm going to be wrapping my brain around that idea of direction in my life for this month. But I'm also going to be counting on y'all who really do understand velocity to help me see how it applies in my life. So we always like to start with Meha's letter. I like to look at this as a love letter to Sonder family. And she writes about velocity. I'll let you read the letter, but these are some things that just like jumped out at me. It's not just about speed, it's about direction. It's momentum that aligns with your values, your joy, and your season of life. And I love that because we are all in different seasons of life. I'm older. I'm in my second packed, right? Some of you are just starting careers. Some of you are college students. And so when you look at all the things through your particular season, it becomes a very personal and meaningful journey. It's about recalibration. I know that word. And that's looking at what's not working and figuring out what I need to do so that things do work. And it's letting yourself be pulled forward by purpose, not just pushed by pressure. And wow, that one's huge, especially if you are still working, and you've got that other life that you're leading where you're having to perform in this work mindset. Let yourself be pulled forward by purpose, not just feeling all the pressure. So lots of really good thoughts here. I'm real excited about digging into that. So as always, we start with an opening activity and we work on that monthly acrostic poem. And yay, we have a page in our journal for our acrostic poem this month. That doesn't always happen. We will take time to reflect on what July brought us, the good, the bad, the ugly, the things we celebrate, all the stuff. We're going to work on our August intentions, and then we'll take a look at that mood tracker and that habit tracker. Now, remember, this is being recorded. So if you see something and you kind of miss it, or you didn't get a screenshot, but you want to go back and look, you'll be able to access on the private YouTube channel, the Silk and Sonder YouTube channel, with, hundreds of videos. So, if you miss something, you'll be able to do that and grab that there. And, I'm going to remind you, this is about taking what you need tonight. Maybe tonight you're just listening, you're visiting in the chat, you're taking some notes on post-it notes, and you're going to do your setup later. You might be coming to another monthly setup. It's all about what works for you and you finding your cadence with this. So, on page 19 is our acrostic poem. And a great way to do it is just to kind of start free associating some words or phrases for velocity. And unfortunately, I don't have examples to show you. We are the first monthly setup. So we might, be helping each other out along the way tonight without some actual examples from our fellow Sonder family. And remember, with this acrostic, you can do one line, one word for each letter. You can embed the letters within a sentence. There's no right or wrong way. So our page 19 is there on the left. You can see velocity, but I will also tell you that the word birthday fits in those lines. It's the same number of letters. So if maybe you're having a birthday, you might want to get going with thinking about what your birthday month's going to look like by creating an acrostic poem. Or you could even use the month of August if velocity's not hitting for you. It's totally up to you, right? You don't have to do this activity, but it is a way to get our mind kind of percolating on this word velocity, especially as we're starting to think about what does this mean in our life. Um, Maya threw this slide in here, and I love it because there's a million V words there. So that will probably inspire how you start your poem. But I've also got, let me show you a couple other slides. I've got some other activities to do. You can do these now in place of the velocity poem if you want to play around with the theme for a little bit before you're comfortable making your poem. Maybe you write a little note saying goodbye to July and welcome in your new friend, August, and just write them a little note. You can maybe go to page 3 and start thinking about a definition for velocity. And maybe it's like, I first think about this, which for me was physics, but then I start thinking about direction in my life. So you can kind of put your initial thoughts that way. You could just write a poem about velocity, like a haiku or a tanka poem. There's examples there of how to set those up. And then last month, Alicia took Mayha's letter, and she did a version of a blackout poem. And instead of blacking out and leaving words for the poem, she took a highlighter marker and highlighted words that spoke to her, and then created the poem you see down on the bottom right, using the word, over our theme savor. So perhaps you go look at that letter that Meha wrote us, and you create a poem, based on highlighting words that pop out for you. Again, no right or wrong way to do this. It's really about just this brainstorming moment to get our juices flowing. One other alternative activity that you could do now, or save this slide for another time when you're sitting with your journal, is I've got some fill in the blank affirmations based on this idea of velocity in our life. Maybe you'll pick 3 or 4 of those to use as your compass for the month, and you'll write those somewhere in your journal. So you can do one activity, 5 activities during this time. It's really up to you. I'm going to put on a little bit of music. I'll go back and forth between these slides. Some of y'all are already super students and you got your assignment done. You're dropping it in the chat. So feel free to share, and feel free to visit some of those other alternate activities, or make a note of it to maybe do at another point in the month. Righty. So thank you for starting to consider what velocity looks like in your life. And I always like to remind you, go back and look. We just finished the month of savoring. Go back and look at what you wrote at a month ago when you were setting up that July journal and see if there's anything you would change from that poem or that opening activity that you did for that theme. See if you saw growth and if you still agree. Anyhow, that's just kind of that reminder. I love going back and looking at that. So we got going with this. I love vroom vroom. I'm gonna keep that one in mind for our V word, vroom vroom velocity. There we go. We're getting ready to charge ahead. We know the direction that we're going. So, thank y'all for dropping the things that you wrote in the chat and inspiring one another. So, I always enjoy looking back over the month, even if the month's been tough. You've already posted in Sonder Club. Nikki, you are a superstar. I'm gonna do a couple of other monthly setups. So I'll go grab that and throw that in so that folks have an example. Thank you for doing that. And also tonight, as you are looking at these examples, know that they came from your Sonder family members. And so I wanted to express gratitude for taking time to post those because that allows us to share with everybody. And also I meant to mention too, you may be watching this on the YouTube replay. And even though you're not here with us, we're really glad that you are taking time for your self-care and diving into your journal. So anyway, and Amanda says, July was the worst month ever, so you are glad to welcome in August. I always say there are those months that are trash fires, right? So we're going to start by looking back over July, looking at the wins. Now, if you did the rosebud thorn reflection from week to week to week, and maybe even look back over your mind maps if you attended the weekly setups, those can inform these wins and maybe the spaces where there were some challenges in your life for the month. Those could have been those thorns. The things that didn't go well that were stumbling blocks. We all have those challenges. Maybe there were some favorite moments. Maybe the favorite moment was when the challenge was over and you can write about that and just leave that on paper. So go thumb back through, look at your rosebuds and thorns. Also pull up your phone. What messages did you get? What did you take pictures of? I had forgotten that we had had a flat tire, on a road trip until I pulled up my camera roll and went, oh, yeah, that was not much fun that day. That was a challenge for the month. But let's go back and embrace whatever the month brought your way. And I'm going to give you good space to work on this. This is a pretty good reflection. I'm going to ask you to save the bottom of the page. I like to divide these up into two activities. So if you'll save your start, stop, and continue, I feel like that's kind of a separate activity. Let's really just go back and look over July and see. Another thing I'll do is sometimes, like if it was a bad financial month, things broke and had to be replaced and that kind of stuff, I'll go look at my credit card statement or the bank account and go, yeah, that was a challenge. And so was that. But the wins can be tiny. It could be, I did half of my habit tracker and I am proud of myself. Write that down, put that down, give yourself credit for those kinds of things. And then drop in the chat the things you want to share with your Sonder family. All righty. Let us celebrate with you, but let us also just hold space and we can kind of have that mutual support for the tough stuff that came our way. All righty. Let's take a little bit of time to reflect on July. Ellen, I'm laughing because you put the heat is a challenge, and I just wrote for on my one of my challenges was it's hot, and it's all in caps. I agree with you there. The dog days of summer, right? We're getting ready to start leaning into the fall. Y'all had some challenges, insurance companies and I am celebrating those small things that a lot of you just dropped in the chat. Things like I increased my step count, and Andrea celebrated an anniversary, and we had, of course, birthdays this past month. And oh, you've got your year set up, Eileen. That's great. But the challenge was hospitalized for 5 days. That's not fun. It reminds us that life is full of balance, right? Now, I know you're probably still filling out this page, so continue to work on that. But I am going to drop down and spend a little time talking about that stop, start, and continue space. And I love this space because it can really help us sort of get our mind frame ready to dive into a new month. When we think about the things that we want to try to, something new to introduce in our life, what do we want to start doing? Where do we need to see better results? Especially as we start thinking about direction and being pulled forward with this new theme of velocity. And then, of course, things that are not working. Maybe the things that you feel like I'm kind of mad at myself. I haven't been eating the way I need to eat, and I haven't been moving the way I need to move. And so I need to stop making excuses, right? That's going to be my stop because I'm not getting the results that I need. But then we are doing things right. And those are the things that we want to continue, that we want to bring forward into a new month, right? Like and I think, yeah, I like you too. I think the weather and just feeling wilted all the time, it makes it hard to want to, well, I can make excuses. I know it better, but anyhow. Now, there's a lot of ways you can just frame this space out, and I've got some really cool examples from y'all to show in case something speaks to you to set this space up. So you can see someone is going to start doing, like 3 chores every, and keeping things clean, stop eating out so much, like that will impact financial goals. So perhaps that ends up influencing that financial intention page. And then continue time with friends and family. So you can see I've got a little list of ways that you can focus on just a single area of growth. And I think that can be really good. If you have a situation in your life right now that feels difficult, maybe there's something at work. Perhaps this whole space of start, stop, and continue is framed around that. I know we have many educators that I know not to talk about it, but school's coming, right? So perhaps you look at like what you want for this new school year. What do you want to stop? What do you want to start? What do you want to continue? So perhaps it becomes school centric, right? Or maybe there's a decluttering challenge you want to do. So this whole thing is about that. So really think about maybe an area in your life that you want to have a really, just a good microscopic focus on, and let that determine what goes in this space. Now, also, let me show you what some folks have done. Asking yourself the questions like, what is it? And why is this important to me? And how am I going to make this happen? And so you can see a couple of examples there. So they've already put into place some hows that can then inform the weekly setups and the goals and the habits that we do. So that's a really great way to ask yourself those questions. What is it? Why is this important? And how am I going to make this start happening? Um, up this example on the upper part of this slide is asking the question, who do I want to be and what must I do to have what I want? I can't believe I didn't capitalize those I's. I'll be changing that up. But you can see in each of those spaces. They've got, okay, here's how I'm going to be. I want to be less burned out, less stressed, more accepting. And so I need to have energy and enthusiasm, more joy, peace of mind. And what do I need to do for that to happen? Prioritize, simplify, mindfulness, prayer, trust. So that's a kind of a neat way to set that space up. And then the one on the bottom is, what am I going to start doing? How am I going to do it? And why? So it was one thing, very theme driven, not a whole list of stuff. I want to start using my daily pages. And how am I going to do that? Well, here are the steps and then why. And it's that reminder of what they need in their life. And then this is another great way to set this space up, maybe to repurpose or tweak it a little bit. And it's asking yourself the question, I feel this because of whatever, and I want to feel, or I need, and you can plug those things in to sort of complete those blank spaces with how are you feeling and why are you feeling that way and what you want to feel. So those are just some suggestions for looking at this space and filling that out. So I'm going to put on some music while you finish out those reflections and you set up this start, stop, and continue. And as you're looking at start, stop, and continue, really embrace this idea of velocity, of momentum, of direction, because these three things in this space can become the compass for the whole rest of your month. Y'all are cracking me up tonight. You never know what's going to happen in the chat. All righty. So we've got that start, stop, and continue. Hopefully figured out. If not, no pressure. Make some notes, noodle on it. Maybe you need to go to bed thinking about it, and you'll wake up in the morning with a revelation of what goes in that space. So again, that reminder that this is National Wellness Month. And so as we set up our intentions, we can maybe keep that in mind. Now, our intentions are found on page 9, so I'll invite you to turn to that page. And if you are new here, for me, this was a very overwhelming page when I first started, because we have these categories: spiritual health, personal life, physical health, key relationships, money management, professional goals. And it was like, all the things. So I'll tell you right now, you don't have to have six big O intentions this month. Maybe you whittle this down to your top three. It's again, we're going to keep reminding you this is about taking what you need in your life. So we have some August fun facts here that might inspire your intentions, how you set up some of these categories. Maybe you'll embrace some of these fun things. But I also love this 5 days to schedule every month. Have an unplugged day, a self-care day, a reset day, a learning day, and a fun day. So maybe some of those days will show up in one or more of your intention spaces, like under the reset day, reset your finances. Maybe that becomes part of your financial help ritual that you will do, that you want to be very mindful of as you set your financial intention for the month. So I think these are very inspirational for this page. Now I always throw this little graphic in with the post-it notes. Like maybe you need to play around with this for a bit. Don't feel like you've got to drop things in. I will say if you have done your intentions from July and they worked and you still feel like they are what you need, just take those intentions into this next page, or this next month. You don't have to reinvent the wheel each and every month as we do intentions. And this last month, hold on, I'm looking for my journal. This time I just did 4 things. Well, it's kind of hard. Oh, I just don't. There we go. So I had 4 intentions for the month instead of 6, and they were spiritual health, physical health, personal life, and creative life. And so I just divided that up because that's what I needed this past month. So that permission that, you don't have to fill in all the spaces. There's lots of ways to frame these out. These are supposed to kind of be overriding ideas rather than a to-do list. Our directions always say setting intentions is not making a to-do list. But it's more of a theme of your life. So here's some more things about this month. It's Dog Month, Wellness Month, Goat Cheese Month for those of you who celebrate, Sandwich Month, Eye Exam Month, Family Fun Month, Golf Month, Crayon Collection Month, Happiness Month. So lots of things can influence this space. Here are some wonderful examples from y'all. And you're going to see some really old ones. You might see one going, wait, that's mine from like 3 years ago. I also have some brand new ones here. I always like to bring other great examples around again. Maybe you're a doodler, and so you doodle on your space with some pictures and some graphics. Like go outside more, keep exercising. I love all those little pictures. Look at the one in the upper middle. There are those words there's like a word that's framing out each one of those intention spaces, and then the repurposing of the mood tracker to make sure that you are holding yourself accountable to embracing those intentions. So that could be like if you do the intentions page and you forget about it, this could be a great way to hold it accountable, or go write it in your habit tracker. Check in on my intentions. Y'all, I'm gonna have to close the chat because you're making me laugh. I'm getting my ADD is woo, something shiny. And then I love the one over in the upper right. It's just some quotes that support the way folks want to feel in each of those areas. Now, remember, you can change these areas up. You don't have to use those categories. Professional goals, I actually changed to learning goals, and I have like learning goals each month to make sure that I am, keeping things fresh in this old brain. And they have to do with reading and what I'm writing and what I listen or watching and what I listen to. I love this example on the left. They've taken scriptures and they've done a scripture to support their intentions. So you could write your intention and then put a little flip page with a scripture or a quote that supports that intention. And then the one there on the right, you can see all of those categories have kind of been renamed to fit in what this person needed. They needed empowered choices, self-expression, freedom to explore. So they changed those categories up. And yeah, I like learning goals because it makes me hold myself accountable to making sure, I don't stop learning. Sometimes words don't come, but images do. And so stickers or other types of imagery can frame out your intention, like you see on the upper left. You could use the monthly theme. That one happens to be connect, but I said, perhaps we look at velocity and we think about, how can I create direction in each of these spaces in my life? There's an example of I need more of something and less of something down there on the bottom left. And then I just, again, some more little doodly graphics there in the very middle page. And then anytime you can create like an affirmation via a statement of I will, I can, I commit to, that can be very powerful to frame out those intentions the way you want to do. Here's a few more great examples. This person on the left started with how do I want to feel in this space? So, as far as my spiritual health, I want to feel grounded. And so they've written, feel grounded. What am I going to work on? And what are the habits that align with that feeling? And then you can see I just the one over there on the right just popped, and you can notice that at personal life they've added the word home because they want to make that space more centric around how their space. They're gonna they're working on projects and decluttering and all that good stuff. So again, you can do six things here. You can kind of copy my example and do one, two, three, four, and use the extra space as a check-in space where you go back and look at reflections. So lots of ways to set this page up. I'm going to put on music while you work on this, and I'll go back through all of these examples. I'll give you a good chunk of time to work on it. This is a pretty important part of our setup because it can drive the whole rest of our month. And point us in the right direction. Can you even imagine how much fun a Sonder cruise would be? I love the chat. Let's all go on a cruise, friends. That would be amazing. All righty. So we've kind of worked on our intentions or we're playing around with some ideas. Now we're gonna take some of that stuff that we've been working on to inform our trackers. And we're gonna start by looking at our mood tracker. And of course, we have this mood tracker here because it can help us see trends in our life. We can sort of look at the days and see, like, oh, I'm not doing good on these days. Oh, it's days I go to work, or whatever. We can see trends, then we are able to make shifts. So that's why we have the mood tracker. Now, many of you I know repurpose this and you use it another way. So I have examples of both. I have mood trackers and then I have repurposed mood trackers. And some of you are very happy this month because the mood tracker is Team Circle. So we've had the hexagons and now we're back to a circle. So if you're brand new, you're going to get one of these forms for the mood tracker, just in to hex a circle. Yes, Amanda. Some of us are just glad to have another tracker. These trackers are really great too because if you love it, you can make a blank, you go make a copy of it and use it in other ways. If you're tracking something at work, keep an extra tracker on your desk, or put a tracker on the fridge if the family's got some goals that they're working on. So this is a really, really good tracker to make copies of, and repurpose. So if you are doing this for the first time, a suggestion is to maybe look at a couple of negative-ish kind of feelings and a couple neutrals and a couple of happy, positive feelings. You might want to think about velocity, direction, momentum this month. And then there's lots of ways to use the tracker as you fill it in. So we'll look at some examples. We do start with this mood wheel, this feelings wheel. The 6 words that are on the outside are actually the core words on the inside of this wheel. And then as you work your way out to the outside of the wheel, you get words that fit within those categories, those 6 categories of words. If you're new to doing a mood tracker, those 6 words are a great place to start. Just use those 6 words. And then as you do the mood tracker and you fine tune, you might be able to, find other words that really hit at a little bit deeper level. So I will come back to this so that you can take a good look at that. But here are examples of how folks have set this mood tracker up with the words that they used. This example on the left, you can see that there's multiple stickers being used on several days so that they could kind of see what's going on. If you look closely at the one on the left, they have highlighted, drawn around the weekend because those days look different. So if you have days that are a little different, work days versus at home days, and this also, maybe you're a hospital worker or a, firefighter and you've got, different, your days look different. Maybe you highlight the days you work. But when you can pull those days out, the days that look different from your everyday, that can help you understand those trends in your mood. And then you can just see how folks are filling those out. That bottom right one, you can see there's an AM check-in and a PM check-in. And yes, this is data for sure. This just gives you some feedback on your life. One of our favorite stories is Maya was one of our facilitators was doing one of these. And she was doing a setup, and somebody talked about how the mood tracker had helped her because her husband would say, "You're always in a bad mood." And she got her mood tracker out and went, nope, I'm not. Here's my mood tracker. And so she was able to show this data and kind of defend herself. And Debbie has asked if I can show that feeling wheel again. I will. I'm going to put on some music while you work on this portion, and I'll show that. I'll pause on that. Now, many folks have chosen not to do moods. They're just, they're not gonna they're not going to track that. That's okay. You can repurpose this. And we have a ton of ideas for that. So there's a list of some ways that folks have repurposed this. I tend to use mine as a book tracker. That's what works for me. So when I read a book, I put the title, and every day I'll color that book title gets a color, and I just track, like make sure I'm reading every day. This example here is how I boosted my mood. And so they've done some things to help them stay in a happy mood. Reading, time with friends, doing a Sonder Social, snuggling with Speck, time with Jet, emotional support coffee. So I think that's a lot of fun. And you can see the weekends are highlighted with yellow there on the outside. And then we've got one very similar, a mood boost tracker. I'm not feeling so great. What can I do to lift my spirits? Go eat fruits and veggies, take a nap, go for a walk, listen to music, find some ways of fellowship, maybe go ride. So they've tracked those, yeah, the mood booster. And then you've got this menu right there to look at. You don't have to sit. It's a good way to shake yourself up out of those feelings. And then lots of folks use it to do an anxiety tracker, a spending tracker, symptoms. Maybe you're tracking some symptoms, and everything will be on this tracker to take to your healthcare provider. You could rate every day on a scale of, like the bottom left there. Example, if it's a 10 or a 9, it's a fantastic day. If it's been a terrible day, one or a 0. And then there's like a movement tracker with walking, Zumba, yoga. You can see the example of the spending tracker there. And then here's some more examples of, manifest happiness. How can I make good things happen in my life? And they're looking at, I'm going to have connection with people, be creative, compliment someone, smile, find something that I just enjoy. We've got physical care trackers, so move, stretch, shower, etc. I love a calm tracker. Are you looking to really dial into being calm? There's an activity tracker, bath, shower, walk the dog. So lots of ways to use this. That's what I was saying, go make a copy of this blank tracker and repurpose it for lots of different areas in your life, tasks at work, family tasks, those kinds of things. So I'll stop talking, put on some music, and go back through these slides. And if you saw something you like, grab a screenshot of that. I appreciate you dropping in the chat like how you repurpose it. Andrea said, she's tracking glucose levels, and so everything's right there. And she noticed trends about when there was too much chocolate stuff involved, and so that's a really great purpose for these trackers. And we're going to now take a look at that second tracker, which is our habit tracker for the month. Now, if you're new, you're going to see this tracker and you're going to see our weekly trackers. And those weekly trackers can be for habits, but they can also be for activities. Maybe you do your yoga class there and you write yoga in the weekly tracker and you circle, Tuesday and Thursday. This tracker is set up to kind of have this idea of these are the things I want to do most days of the month. And so habits can show up here and in that weekly habit tracker, or that weekly habit and activity tracker can be dedicated to the things that are going on that week. I know that can be a little confusing. Like, why do we have all these habit trackers? But these are going to be the things that we want to do most days of the month. Now, your start, stop, and continue spaces that you filled out can definitely be an informing way to set this tracker up. The things that you want to start doing, the things you want to stop doing, and then the things that you are already doing. Let's put some wins automatically down on that habit tracker. So I've got a little graphic there to remind you to go check that start, stop, and continue space. Great way to hold yourself accountable to what you said you wanted for the month. Of course, you can kind of think about direction and what areas of your life you want going in a certain direction, and set that up through this lens of velocity this month. You can do a theme. Maybe I know that, like, when I use this for just like all very health centric things, and just focus on ways that I'm going to support my health, it helps me stay focused that way. And then we say, find a balance of habits you will do and pair them with maybe the things that feel a little trickier to get done. So, if I make my bed every day, no matter what, even when I'm sick, put make my bed as your first habit. That's going to give you a win right away to start the day. You're opening your page to check it off, and then that will also inspire the other things that you have on this tracker. Plus, you can maybe think about pairing something that you want to start with something that you're already doing, and you don't check it off until they're both done. So that's called that habit. When you pair those habit stacking, it's when you pair those habits together. We've got some great examples to show you. Notice how the example on the right also highlighting those weekends. Maybe you give yourself the weekend off if that's what you need from the tracking. So I like looking at that. So when you look at the tracker, maybe you're like, oh, I realize on every weekend I tend to not do XYZ, but it's okay. I'm going to give myself that permission. Also, the reminder that you don't have to fill out every single line, and it doesn't have to just be checked off. Maybe you are tracking your steps. That's an old one of mine there on the left. So I just wrote, I realized I wasn't moving enough. So I started actually writing the number in that space. And then when I made a social connection, I wrote the initials of the person that I made that connection with. And then we've got a symptom tracker. So this is thematically based with all the symptoms that they are going to be utilizing this tracker for, and it's in one space. And in a month, I had hot flashes on these days. I experienced night sweats, and so everything's in one place. And then we've got some examples of what it could look like filled out. Remember, this is data. Missed spaces are a-okay. And so that there's that reminder, just give yourself grace. And here's some more that are filled out. And the one on the left, you can see the weekends are highlighted. They've got their kind of days off highlighted. They've made some notes about being out of town. So right all over this tracker, use it in the way you want. The one on the right, you see there are four things. Not every line is filled out. That good reminder that you don't have to fill out every single space. This person over here has done like a wheel of life in the middle of their habit tracker. So let me put on some music. I'll go back through these habit trackers and throw in the chat, how you're utilizing your tracker. What are the things that you'll be tracking this month? Because that will inspire one another. All right. Remember, we've got three more of these setups. So I'll be doing a couple more, and you can come back and join for more if you want. This is also being recorded. Katie's going to drop that link in the chat so you can grab that, save it as a bookmark so that you can access it at any time. I'm super proud of all of us for showing up and starting to think about August, our new month, how we're going to be saying goodbye to the summer as the weeks go forward, and we'll be getting excited about a new season. And I love that we get to do that with each other. Sonia had talked about decorating her cover. I'd love to invite you to go check out the Coloring Social. If the coloring page isn't for you, but you'd like to spend time maybe redecorating the front of your journal, I'll have some examples to show you at that one. So that'll be on the Eventbrite page. I like to look at that as kind of our creative time. So you're invited to come to that. We would love to see your setup in Sonder Club. All these great examples came from the Sonder family. And so we want to encourage you to share that. Of course, one more shout out for that Christmas in July. Hope to see you there. And again, thank you for showing up for each other. This was a great, great evening. I send you lots of light and love, and I'll just see you soon. Bye.
That's